Hello, so in this video I'm looking at a kind of method you can use to create morphing effects in VCV, and this is inspired by my old hardware unit, the Lexicon Vortex. And we can't really morph in exactly the same way as a Vortex because I'm not sure how it works, but you can create a kind of similar effect using this module, Transit. So this is quite a complicated patch. I'm going to try and explain how this works. Might be a bit tricky, to be honest. So as you can see, I've got loads of stuff here, and I've got a few things mapped to a beat step controller. So I've got this new module from JW Modules, which is called Random Sound, and clues in the name, it just makes a random sound, so I've got that triggered. I love that, actually. I think it's brilliant, genius module. So it's really satisfying to just keep hitting that and get a different sound every time. I've also got a chord here, which is just playing random notes. So again, that's randomized, so you get different notes every time you hit it. And I've got a start-stop. That's just starting the beat. So if I just solo this for a second. So that's the beat dry. It's not particularly good. I'm not very good at making beats, really. It's kind of standard. And then this is obviously going through all the effects. I just mute the dry one again. And just stop that for a second. Okay, so I'm going to zoom in a bit here. So the way this patch works is the transit module is way over there. I'll just drag that across. And you can see it's got these kind of slots, or snapshots as they're called. Basically what you do is you put it into write mode, and then you click on a slot, and then you adjust something you got mapped, and then it stores it. So if I just put that back to read mode, sorry. So if you right click in the menu here, I'm just going to zoom in again actually, just so you can see it a bit more clearly. So this is transit here, and if you right click, you can either bind the module next to it, to the left, so you can move a module right next to it, or you can just do a select, and then you can click on any other module and just bind it, and that allows you to change the parameters and store it. Okay, so just escape out of there. And the next thing I've got is I've got two vector mixers actually. What these are doing, I've basically got 4 different effects, and these are just blending between the effects. So I've got these labelled here. Again, another module from Störmelder. Not sure how to pronounce that. I think it's German. Störmelder, possibly. So we've got phaser, flanger, ring mod, and glitch. I'm not sure where that module's gone, but there's a module called glue if you want to put labels on like this. So that's our 4 effects. And then if I just move over, this is the modulation mixer. And we've got sample and hold, which is synced to the clock. We've got sine LFO, and we've got a VCO for some audio rate modulation. And then we've got a ramp LFO, or a sawtooth waveform. So if I just zoom out again, you can see where these are coming from. So I've got the bog audio LFO up there with a couple of different waveforms. I've got a VCO for some audio rate, and that's being used for the ring modulation. And then I've also got the where's it gone? Super sample and hold there. Now this is actually patched polyphonically, but I'm just using stereo. So I'm basically using polyphonic patching, and then I've just set everything to 2 channels. That probably doesn't make a lot of sense to you, but it's quite useful. If we go down here, I've got this filter, and that's not stereo. But if you're using poly, you can just set it to 2 channels, and then that's effectively stereo as well. So it's kind of slightly confusing, but it's effectively the same thing. So if I just zoom out again, I forgot what I was talking about now. Let's, I don't know, demonstrate some sounds. So if I just hit this chord again, let's zoom back in actually onto the modulation matrix. So I kind of realized a long time ago that the thing with effects is the modulation you use is really important. So if you've got something like a phaser, using a sine LFO will be completely different to sample and hold, for example. It's actually kind of a different effect almost. So if we just zoom in a bit more into this modulation matrix here. Now you can't, so I'll just move that back. That's the glue module there that's doing the labels. Just move that out of the way. So there's kind of a dot in the middle here that you can use to blend between your different inputs. But you can't actually automate that with transit because you can't map that. So what I've done is I've got an output from this module here called knobs, and that's going to the X and Y position. And then the knobs module is mapped. So you can see it's got these blue dots here, and that's mapped by the transit module. So you can actually see, I don't know why I'm pointing at the screen like an idiot. But if I change one of these presets here, so you can see I've got these buttons mapped to the beat step. So as I go through it, you can see that's selecting a different snapshot. That one's got some extreme feedback. So you can see that's changing in there. I'll stick it back on the phaser. And you can also see this dot moving here as well. So it's quite quick, so I've got quite a short fade time. If I turn that up, so you can see those moving really slowly. I found that if you've got delay and you're using a beat and you use a really long morph time, it gets kind of a bit mashy. Although actually that was quite nice, that bit. Let's turn it up a bit more. I think the maximum is 10 seconds. Yeah, so you can hear that one was a bit of a mess. But I can just lose hours of my life to this, just playing around. I forgot what I was doing now. I was going to demonstrate the phaser. So that's actually, I think that's got audio rate modulation at the moment. Where's the dot? The dot's on sample and hold. So if we move that across, hang on, wrong preset. Right, okay, so there's a phaser. And at the moment that's a ramp LFO. So if we move these. So you can hear signs quite different. The sample and hold's clock synced and that's not running. So if I'm going to zoom out again. What I'll do, I've got a mixer up here somewhere. So if I just mute everything else on the mixer. Okay, and I'll just zoom back in. Okay, so oh, hang on. I've not muted that random sound. I do like that though. That is good. That was a good one. Right, slight edit there, sorry. So if I play this chord again. So that's the phaser of the sample and hold. So you can hear that's, if you have a sine wave, it's almost a completely different effect. And then we can also do the VCO, which is obviously a bit noisy. And then you can also mix these together, so you can, if you have it somewhere in the middle, you're going to get all of them at once. I've actually got a scope as well if I zoom out, so you can see the waveform there. So you can see that looks kind of fuzzy because it's got that audio rate. If I move that across, and you can see, in fact it's probably easier to just change the presets like this. So yeah, you can see it blending in between different modulation waveforms there. So just to hear what that sounds like. I'll just turn that morph up again, the fade time. Okay, so that's the basic idea. If I just zoom out, look at some of these effects. So for glitch, I'm actually using, this is basically clouds, but it's an alternative firmware. So it's from the Sanguine Mutants collection. And it's called It's Easier, and that's in stretch mode. So you've got slightly different modes. So I think that's normally pitch shifter, but it's slightly different in It's Easier. So let's get the beat going again actually and demonstrate this. Okay, so you can see that's really slowly faded down onto the glitch. So you can see the red dots there. If I just zoom in a bit again. So you can see its dot is on the glitch setting. And then that's got to slowly morph into a phaser. Kind of a step phaser effect with that sample and hold modulation. Right, no, it's not. It's the Bamp LFO. So you can see which effect and which modulation you've got here by the position of the dot on these two mixers. So you probably can't see that, but that's a really short delay time. So if we just zoom in. So the good thing about this is you can map as many modules as you want. So you could map the VCA frequency or the LFO frequency as well and morph between those. But I've also mapped the chronoblob module here. So you can see with a really slow fade time, you can see that change quite gradually. So I think with drums that's a bit of a mess in between, but that sounds really good for things like guitar or synth pads. So last one, if I go to this preset, and that's basically kind of a mixture of everything. So you can see these two dots are now in the middle. But I think if you've got any kind of rhythm, it's better to move the fade time down quite slow. And then you can just kind of play with it. I really like that glitch, actually. That's really good. Okay, so that's how it works. Feedback's too high on that flanger there. I'll just turn that off. So yeah, that's how it works. I'll upload this patch to patch storage and stick a link in the description. So you can download this from yourselves and have a play around. And yeah, it's not quite the same as the Vortex, but it's a lot of fun. So let me know what you think. Cheers. Bye.